Look who's happy to see the weekend. There you have it, the closing bell on the New York Stock Exchange this Friday. Wrapping up what's really been a volatile week of trading. You see the Dow Jones Industrial Average gave back a big chunk of the gains made at this time yesterday, down right now almost 400 points.
That's right. The NASDAQ and S&P 500 also had tough days. The S&P is down around 2%. The NASDAQ is down around 3%. For more on this, David Grasso joins us now. He's the editor of digital TV news network Bold. David, welcome. So we mentioned a big rally on Thursday. We saw the Dow drop today. What was driving the markets today?
Inflation, inflation, inflation. You know, the Federal Reserve is something that we don't hear about a lot in common parlance. And lately, that's kind of all you hear about. Of course, we're coming off of the fastest interest rate hikes in a generation. In fact, possibly, too, the last time the Fed hiked rates this fast, I wasn't alive, and neither was Errol, for that matter. So, you know, we're all wondering when inflation is going to calm down. And it seems like it's not going to happen as fast as people would like.
That's a great way to just engage the folks you're speaking with. I'm like, how does he know how old I am?
He didn't mention me, by the way. There you go. Okay, go ahead, for the record.
But I know Errol's age. It has nothing to do with you, of course.
Okay, there we go. Good save. Good save. So, David, you know, how do you expect the Fed then to respond to what is continuing high inflation rates when they meet soon?
More jumbo rate hikes, and that's a lot of bad news for people who are hopeful that the Fed would reverse this, right? So people were thinking, hey, this should be enough. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on the way you look at it, there's a lot of inflationary pressure. Of course, Americans, anyone who's visited a grocery store recently would obviously notice the hikes that we've seen in rent, food, fuel, et cetera. And while some of these inflationary pressures are calming down, it's not happening fast enough for the Fed to take the foot off the brake.
So Bloomberg says that America's biggest banks are set to put aside more than $4 billion to cover future loan losses. I mean, that sounds pretty ominous. What does that say about the stability of the economy?
Well, we're seeing the financial system is having weak points. We've seen in the United Kingdom a sudden reversal on tax cuts and, you know, other budgetary pressures that are really changing the financial game. Fortunately, I have a different view on this. Last time we had a problem with the banks back during the financial crisis, there was no even indication that we were going to have a problem. Minimally, at least banks are having the conversation that more losses are coming and that they are going to need to set aside, Bloomberg is saying, $4.5 billion among the biggest banks for losses. And there's one more thing that's more positive about America than the rest of the world, especially over in the UK and in Europe. A lot of Americans, especially homeowners who already have mortgages, have fixed interest rates. In countries like the United Kingdom, Ireland, and in the European Union, most people have adjustable rate mortgages, which means these interest rate hikes are hurting them immediately, while the effects here will be more delayed.
And a lot of what I've seen is estimating that we'd hit a recession by middle of next year, early next year. Does that line up with what you're seeing?
Well, it seems like at some point or another, we're going to hit a recession. By some measures, we were already in a recession this year for 2 consecutive quarters, and we can have a whole other segment arguing about that. But at some point, economic growth is going to come down and inflation is going to calm down. The big question for the markets is when is that going to occur? How deep will the recession have to be to break the back of inflation and really bring back down inflationary expectations? Unfortunately, right now, the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Study, which is the gold standard in kind of seeing what people are thinking about inflation, is showing that inflation expectations are actually going the wrong way. They're going up right now. So we still have a little bit of ways to go in this little saga of inflation in America and everywhere else around the world.
Save your pennies, folks. David Grasso, thanks so much. A man who does his homework. And now I know you know when my birthday is, so I'll be expecting that gift come April 3rd. David, thank you very much.
Of course, Errol. Thank you.